Do you think this team could push for the playoffs or even the play-in tournament this season?
Blake, let me go first because I think
Yeah,
you're going to
please
be
do.
more positive, and
Okay.
we can let the positive note end it.
Okay.
I don't think that they can. I know the start so far has been a lot of fun. I'm loving how much competitive basketball they're playing, but I just can't imagine that the East is going to continue to be as bad as it looks right now. Like, I mean, like teams like the Pacers are even struggling record wise, and that's a good squad. They're going to pick it up. So I don't think that 28 wins is going to get you into the play-in this year. It's probably up over 30, and well, as like we kind of said before, you could do the game where like the Pistons their record could be better than it is right now if a couple bounces go the other direction, but you could do that the other way too, right? They still turn the ball over quite a bit. They play a really slow pace, and they have a good defensive rating with a bunch of not very good defensive players, which does show up in game. Like, you can see that Jalen Duren is still struggling defensively, for example. Cade Cunningham has been better off ball, but if he gets switched onto a quick guard, it's still trouble. Jaden Ivey, the inverse. If he goes off ball, he falls asleep every now and then. It's like all the core problems there on that end are still there. Like, I think that they're going to continue to be fun to watch. And that's what I'm looking forward to. But in terms of like, will they win more than 30 games and push into the play-in? I think you'd need to be getting close to 33, 34, 35 to really do that. Again, I can't believe that the East is just going to be this terrible the rest of the season. So, no, I don't think that they can. But I don't think that's a detriment either, I guess I should say. It sounds negative, but I think they'll be fun. I think it'll still be competitive. They'll just, the water will find its level, I guess, and they'll miss it.
Okay.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm with you. I think a little more positive, but I think they could compete for the back end of the play-in, like specifically the 10 spot, maybe the 9, but it's just if you look at the standings, Philly's 2-10, Milwaukee's 4-8, like they're gonna turn it on at some point, or hope maybe it'll be better than what it is so far. And even Toronto, who the Pistons beat last night, they're sitting at 2-11, but they don't have Scotty Barnes right now, so they're better than their record. I think it'll be tough. I mean, we saw how the Pistons dealt with that first stretch of the schedule, played some competitive games, but went into a lot of losses. Like, I think they're going to run into more tough stretches in the schedule like that. But overall, I think, like Wes said, they'll continue to compete at the way that they are. And although it won't lead to wins night in and night out, I think they'll find wins here and there to at least keep themselves in the conversation, because they're sitting at 6-8 right now. Like, I don't think I thought they would have 6 wins through 14 games. So I think exceeding expectations would have been competing for one of those final play-in spots. So I think if they're doing that, you have to be ecstatic, because I think the normal, or maybe like realistic expectation was they would be better than they were last season, which isn't difficult, but they would still be better than a few teams in the East, like the Wizards and Brooklyn and maybe Chicago and Charlotte. But even Brooklyn is playing better than I thought they would. So there's not going to be a ton of easy outs, I don't think. But that said, the way the Pistons are competing right now, I feel like even though there's matchups that aren't great for them, I feel like there's not really a game that you can go into, barring injuries on either side, where you can say like, okay, the Pistons are definitely going to lose this one. Like, I don't think there's a way that they're going to come out with it. I think they'll at least put up a fight night in and night out that could make things interesting down the stretch.
And just real quick, Blake, to build on your point there, like you look at the standings right now, good, talented teams under 500 right now. The Hawks, the Heat, the Pacers, the Bucks, the 76ers, and then the Raptors, who we just saw, who are really injury laden right now. You could make an argument that the Hornets might have more talent than Detroit right now. They're sitting at 4-7. The Knicks are somehow only 500. And so, that like crew, I guess, at the bottom that you mentioned with the Bulls, the Wizards, and the Pistons. Everyone but the Wizards seem to be overperforming a little bit to expectation right now, and I doubt it's going to last. That's all.
I might be a little reactionary, and I've been taking it week by week. Over the last 3 weeks, they've finished, 2-2.
Yeah.
I think they can compete for a play-in spot. I don't think, they're going to be like a top 6 seed, like I see some people talking like on Twitter right now. But I think playing at the end of the day is, I think, obtainable. Obviously, to your point, Wes, the way that they've played, turning the basketball over, situations where, the offense just isn't consistent. It's a young team. You had mentioned multiple times this is the 4th youngest team in the NBA. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have lulls in the season. But I think starting off the season pretty decent could help them down the stretch when teams start getting injured. And who knows what they do with the trading deadline. I think that'll tell me more if they're, trading away their veterans, or maybe they get that veteran point guard. Maybe they get a veteran center because Jalen Duren hasn't taken steps in progression defensively that I think a lot of fans want him to get better in. I think just right now in November, I think they could possibly, push for that play-in spot.
So here's the practical question, right? This is the practical question. And if we want to be positive, then you spin it positive. If you want to be negative, you spin it negative. The Pistons are sitting at 7th right now in the East. Mm-hmm. There are teams beneath them that are certainly more talented than they are. So the Pacers, the Bucks, the 76ers, and probably the Raptors when the Raptors are healthy. If the Pistons make the play-in, they have to beat out one of those 4 teams. So there's your spin.
I think what's interesting about that is, like, if things continue to go the way that they're going for like the Milwaukees and the Phillies of the world, like Philly, no matter what happens, like you sign Paul George, they're gonna go for it. Their first round pick is protected 1 through 6, but like they just can't waste a year like this. And then Milwaukee
too.
Yeah, they owe their pick to Brooklyn, and it's protected 1 through 4. So you can't go into the lottery and be like, I'm going to be a top 4 team. So they're going to go for it. But like, if Chicago is just not doing anything, like they might want to get up there in the lottery, put their foot in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So I don't know. I think all those teams definitely, like, the water is going to level out. Like you said, some of them are going to leapfrog the Pistons, but what if there's 1, maybe 2 that things continue to go super poorly for, and they just kind of are forced into punting, and then that puts the Pistons in a unique situation.
I think it's Milwaukee personally. I just don't see things getting better with Doc Rivers as their coach. I think if they want to get serious, get rid of him.
That's
personally.
Fair. That's fair.
Oh man, another mid-season.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, like Brian Windhorst said 2 weeks ago, they called every team in the league to see if they could make trades. Like that's
already
a red,
teams don't make trades right now.
That's a red flag. Like the fact that you've called every team in the league and not one team is willing to help you out, that kind of tells me like it's a locker room issue at this point with Doc Rivers and those guys.
And I don't think that the Bucks have another like advisor who has coaching history that could, just like kick out Doc Rivers and take over like Doc Rivers did a year ago.
I mean, you got Darvin Ham. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there?
Oh my God. Yeah. That's an interesting one. I can't see them just fully letting everything go, but if they didn't owe Brooklyn a pick, I could definitely see them being one to do it. But just like when you have Giannis and I mean whatever's going on with Dame, like you can't really force a year, and just the fact that they can only make their own pick if it's in the top 4, I don't think they'll totally ever just like give up. But they're an interesting one for sure. Like I thought that everyone was like sleeping on them a little bit to enter the season as a true contender, but things are not going great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it seems like Chris Middleton, like age has just caught up with them. Seems like every time I look, he always has like a major injury over the past two
Hmm.
seasons. I mean, he's getting up there in age. Dame's getting up there in age. We just saw him this week. I mean, Giannis had to score 60 to get a 7-point win. Like, uh, I think fire alarm in Milwaukee is definitely going to be an issue. Would not surprise me if maybe they just say, "Hey, Rondo, coach this team because this is just a mess."
That's true. That'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I mean, yeah, things are not great.
The other interesting to watch would probably be the Raptors, right? How many
Hmm.
Mhm.
games do they lose before Scotty Barnes and the rest of the crew kind of get back healthy? Um, I don't think that they're supposed to be out like that much longer, if I remember right. But
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
sure on that, so don't quote me. But I mean, if they get like a third of the way into the year and they still only have like 4 wins, maybe you just kind of send it at that point if you're the Raptors. I don't know.
I mean, losing Bruce Brown they're probably going to lose him for a majority of the season because he just had arthroscopic surgery on his knee, kind of like how what Blake Griffin had a few seasons ago. So he's
jeez.
probably going to be out for a long time. And I don't. Toronto's another team where like they have talent, kind of like the Pistons, like they're young, they have their mixture of veterans with like RJ Barrett and Kelly Olynyk, but they're another team where I kind of feel like I don't know what they're actually doing. Like I don't know if they're rebuilding or they're just trying to do this like a fresh retool and just like try to compete. But I mean,
Yeah, they're walking that line.
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't. Some people think Charlotte's going to fall off a cliff, which wouldn't surprise me if LaMelo Ball gets hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the question. If LaMelo can stay healthy, I think they're a very good team. But
Hmm.
that's been the question for a few years now.
Yeah.